getting ready to go away.
NYC.
And we're getting ready to board our plane.
In a few minutes.
Yay! NYC.
We're gonna sit on the floor. A few weeks ago, here we are sitting around talking, and we think, you know, the summer's busy, we need to do something fun. So, out of the blue, this idea hit us, hey, let's take a trip to... Because there was one particular show that we had to see, that we had heard on the SiriusXM Broadway channel, and I said, we have to see that show. We had 5 days and saw how many shows?
7.
7 shows in 5 days. But before we jumped on the show train, we booked some tickets to this new thing called the Museum of Broadway. Right there, Museum of Broadway. And I thought, hey, this is going to be great because they have costume displays, they have the whole story of the creation of a show, they have set models, they have video testimonials of directors and actors and all sorts of things. And I booked it, not even knowing where it was. Here's our hotel, here's one theater, and here's the Museum of Broadway. It was literally
meant to be.
What was your favorite part of the Museum of Broadway?
You know, I don't know if I had a favorite part. I loved it all, because it was so, every room was done differently. I don't even know if I had a favorite.
I like the way that it started because you walk in and you go up these stairs, and it's like it's set up like you're going backstage. This set of stairwells is like the preparation of this, and then you get to this set of stairwells, and then you go on, and then when you finally get there, then you go into really the beginning of the essence of how Broadway became Broadway. Mm-hmm. Plus, they had all these interactive places like the chairs in Cabaret, or this street with the costumes from Rent, and I did my best Rent impersonation. A row of mirrors from A Chorus Line, and they had a cornfield for Oklahoma, which was my favorite. A lot of it was hands-on, so you could get in there and get your picture taken with things.
Yeah, it was all, every room was done differently. It was just so well done.
So well done. This is one of the 2 reasons we're here. Gotta check this place out. So excited. We get to see costumes, we get to see set models, we get to do all sorts of fun stuff. did 7 shows, 5 days. This is what I do now. Instead of buying books and t-shirts and things at plays, I just buy a magnet. The bad part is you really can't film that much because you can't film the show.
You just have to take our word on it.
We saw some wonderful shows. We saw some shows. This is completely just our opinion. The performers in every show was great.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the talent.
The production of the show, a lot of it was great. A lot of it, the story was just
kind of boring.
Dumb. The best time to go to New York, and this is why we went at this moment, is right after the Tony Awards are announced. And you can feel like the excitement when you walk in these theaters because they're all in award season, and Death Becomes Her is one of those that completely knocked out all the competition with it. Fun special effects, it was funny.
It just laughed my head off.
Show number 1.
Number 1.
It was such
really
a fun surprise.
It was.
1 to 5, what would you give it?
4.5.
I would give it a solid 4.5 too.
Yeah!
Show number 2. Show number 2. Then we saw Moulin Rouge, which I think is running in its 5th or 6th year maybe. So it's been running for quite some time. Beautiful show. Beautifully sung. I'm not going to say who, but we saw some really famous people in it, which kind of disappointed me.
We were expecting a little bit more.
Yeah,
out of that.
kind of felt that it was just sort of like just collecting a paycheck for their name. For the most part, the show is beautiful. You get your ticket money worth just in scenery and costumes with this sucker.
Mm-hmm.
And the lead characters, boy, could they sing. The 2 leads in
they
that.
could.
Death Becomes Her, I would see again immediately. Moulin Rouge, I think I'd probably wait just a little while. Scale of 1 to 5?
2.5 to 3 for me.
See, I'd give it a solid 3. Mainly because I think some different people in different parts would take it up to a 4 or even higher than
Yeah.
Then we saw Outsiders. Tony Award winner, Best Musical last year, and boy did it deliver.
Ugh.
Heart-wrenching. The last 15 minutes of this show,
Your heart's like...
I look over and Nikki's sobbing, and I'm sobbing, and I think all you can hear over the entire audience is just sniffles. Moulin Rouge is just flashy, in your face, and this is a unit set with just small pieces that come and go. And so it relies completely on those performers. And we saw a lot of the original cast.
that was really cool.
I would have turned around at that moment and saw the whole thing over again.
That's the first thing you said when we walked out. Scotty looked at me and he was like, I would go see it again right now.
Without even a potty break. I would just have stayed sitting in my seat. It's just raw, emotional.
You don't even want an intermission.
I might admit that I might have shed a couple of tears in the opening number 2, and there's no reason to other than the fact that it was just so well done.
Yeah.
Show number 3. Outsiders, 1 to 5.
5.
Solid 5, and the only reason I only give it a 5 is because we're not going to 10. When you do so many shows in that short amount of time, some days you have twofers. And so we did some shows a matinee, and then we did another show that evening. This was one of our matinee shows. Boop, the new Betty Boop musical. I had such high expectations for that show. And the opening number was wonderful. It was, and it started in black and white and just built as it went along, and it was so great. And then they went through this whole time travel thing, and it got weird.
The talent itself, wonderful.
Yeah, the singers and dancers, like top notch.
Yes,
but the story?
The story was just, I mean, honestly, I almost fell asleep.
Well, the lights came up at intermission, and Nikki and I both looked at each other and said, what do you think about this? And Nikki's like, I'm kind of bored, and I'm like, I kind of don't get it. So for the first time in my life, I left a show at intermission, and we went to Macy's. And we just met Patty LaPone.
Scotty did.
Before the show started, get this. I'm there to get my magnet in the merchandise line, and I hear this voice behind me go, excuse me, sir. And I turn around, and guess who's there? Patty LaPone. Evita herself. Patti LuPone standing there. And so I go over and tell Nikki and say, Patti LuPone's over there behind me in line. And she goes, what? Take me over there. So we go marching over there. I was very nice and considerate. I didn't ask for a picture because I had heard people in the line earlier asking for pictures and she wasn't doing pictures that day. And so I said, Miss LuPone, we're a big fan. Bless you. And she said, thank you, darling.
He said, bless you.
I did.
Bless
She needs to
you,
be blessed.
Patti.
But anyways, Boop, the new musical, 1 to 5, what would you say? Oh, a 1? See, I would give it at least a 2 just for the singers and dancers. I'm just confused over why the producers and some of the creative team was like, this is a good story, because it just was weird and about time travel and yeah. But that night, the whole reason we went to New York.
Number 5. No sugar.
Was for
Sunset Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard. Sunset.
Okay. The whole reason we went on a Saturday night was because I had to make sure that we got to see Nicole Scherzinger play Norma Desmond in the show. And I honestly, when it was over, still to this day, cannot explain what we saw. Because it was...
There are no words.
It was beyond description. There's no set, there's 2 chairs, and lots of fog.
And talent, but you just can't even...
And they tell that whole story just in the fog and in the darkness with this LED wall that bends its back and forth. It's like, it's over, and all you want to do is just sit there.
And for once in my life, I was speechless. I mean, that speaks volumes.
That's kind of like ironic that being speechless speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
Sunset Boulevard, limited run. It ends in the middle of July. It's beyond description. Beyond description. Scale of 1 to 5, you said?
100.
Yeah, you can't even score it. Probably one of the greatest top three things that I have ever seen. I take that back. Probably the greatest top 2 things I've ever seen. The following day, we had our second twofer, and we went to a matinee of the American classic, The Great Gatsby. Again, scenery, costumes, beautiful.
Yeah.
Choreography, pretty amazing. The cars they drive on stage are pretty fun to watch. But I felt like it sort of was lacking depth. I feel like they just skidded through parts rather than the eyes on the billboard are so symbolic in the novel, and this was just sort of like this guy singing this billboard, and if you weren't familiar with the story, you'd be like
what the heck?
What's going on here?
Yeah.
Now there's some people that are gonna be like, that's the greatest thing I ever saw! Production wise, Outsiders, so simple but so deep in story that it just sticks in your gut, and still it's stuck in my gut.
Yeah.
Number 6.
6. Wait, I have to do my...
6.
1 to 5. Great Gatsby.
I think 2.5.
I'll give it a 3, just for the production. And then, that night for our second twofer day, we saw Hadestown, another Best Musical winner from 2019. This winner won the Tony Award for Best Musical. The performances were great. We did see a couple of new people that had just taken over the leads, and the girl was so good.
She was great.
She was so wonderful, and the boy was really, really good too. And I love that theater is so small, so you're literally...
You feel like you're in it with...
you're almost on top of the stage. It's so tiny.
Show number 7. We're going way down to Hadestown, way down under the ground.
I thought it was great. 1 to 5, what would you say?
4.
I would give it a good 4, yeah. It's not one that I would run out and see again immediately. If the opportunity came and someone said, hey, will you go see that with me? I would go, but it's not one like Outsiders or Sunset Boulevard or Death Becomes Her that I would be, yes, I'll go right now. We did really well on our 5 days, 7 shows. Got some that, like I say, normally would have been spectacular and great, but compared to some of the others, they were a little clunky. That's a good word.
Clunky.
7 shows, 5 days in the great, wonderful city, on the great, wonderful street known as the Broadway. I would go again tomorrow. What about you?
100%. Let's go.
Let's go. In our hotel. We normally stayed at a different hotel. This was our 4th trip together, probably, since we've been married. But we found a new hotel, and it was great. It was half a block from Times Square, right beside the Museum of Broadway and the Lyceum Theater. And it was perfect location. We literally walked everywhere, but we never left more than half a mile.
Well, all this trip was literally, I think we ate pizza every day.
That was the goal.
And
Eat a piece of
then
pizza every day.
it was just the shows.
We've done all the touristy stuff.
So it was just a lot about shows.
Yeah. And what other reason to go right before the Tony Awards? See the Broadway.
See the Broadway, babies.
Thanks for going with me.
Thank you.